Broadway, Chatterbox!
Hi guys, what I want to say, we brought 5 of these books which are literally now out of print. So I need to sell them because they are cluttering up my apartment. So please buy. This is my very first book, and I'll autograph it. Second of all, speaking of out of print, the fabulous, he's not out of print, but we're talking about how old we are. Please welcome to the stage, she's amazing, Brian Darcy James! Okay, so first of all, we're periscoping, but at a horrible angle at this age. Lily, is there a balcony? Rude. All right, so thanks for coming, everyone. So, Edie James, you're starring right now in something wrong. Yes, so, our show. How'd you get the gig? How many auditions? Open call?
I was asked to do the reading, there were a couple of readings, one of which I wasn't in, and then there was...
You mean before, or you were asked to do one that they brought back?
No, I wasn't in it to begin with. That has happened to me for sure. But usually, when they say goodbye, it's forever. It's
I think you can go see it, though.
No, because you've done it. No, you've done it. You don't need
not
to see
in costume with a set.
Yeah, you've done it.
Oh.
That's my feeling. Like, you're inside it. Why not? You don't need to see from the outside.
Okay.
Maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe I'm just really bitter. But anyway,
I think you should give Mamma Mia a chance to stop about it.
You're right.
We have 1 month left.
That's true.
Continues. Someone else did it before you.
Yes. They did 29 reading version of it.
29 hours.
29 hours. 29 hour reading, and then they did a 4-week lab about
which is code for go.
Well, it's workshop without the payment. It's a long story. I mean,
it's a new negotiation that Equity came up with, where it's like, because normally when you workshop, you get money like basically forever with the show because you help.
I think 18 years. Actually.
You kind of like help create the show, but now Lab is like, we're going to pay you an extra $10 a week, so you never get money again. And Equity's like, we're desperate, we'll take it. So we did the lab, brava. I'm magnanimous and can't comment. I continue. A head nod.
No, it's kind of. Well put, in a way. So that was the long answer short, is that I was asked to do the reading of it, the lab of it.
So when you do the lab, like I've done all different versions of like staged readings. Like how staged was it?
Fully staged. That's another thing with the lab, is that you do the show, and it's there's really the only thing that they don't have are the massive lights and the lighting plot. They have basically set pieces that are moving. They're basic. But they're not extravagant, but they're basic sets, and you have props galore, and you have costume suggestions.
And where was it?
New 42nd Street.
Wow, so you basically have the whole, and you have like mics.
Yep, it's mic'd. You have, in our case, we had bass, drums, guitar.
Oh, full Broadway orchestra.
Pretty much.
These days, still devastating. Okay, and how many performances?
I think we did about 4. And maybe 5. One, the extra one was for friends to kick us off, and then the 4 for all the money people.
So when you first got it, when you were creating it, do you remember anything you added to the show? You're like, it'd be funny if I tap danced my dialogue.
Yeah, that was never my suggestion.
Okay.
When it came to that, I was more like, are you serious? You want me to do that?
Maybe I should sit.
Well, Casey Nicola somehow believed that I could do it, so thankfully that was the way I was coerced into that. It was part of my job. I had no choice.
Well, how much tapping have you done before? I know in Titanic was a big tap number that was cut.
Yeah.
But before that, guys, I'm joking. Like, tap number, iceberg. Wait, how much tapping have you ever done?
I have done a few moments of tap in my life. I started actually in 10th grade. My grandmother was a tap dancer. She was a great
Grandma
dancer.
Darcy James?
Grandma Ann Kelly.
Oh.
Ann O'Brien, actually, was married Ann Kelly. Anyway, so she was a dancer. And I was always fascinated by dancing on the Lawrence Welk show.
He grew up in the 30s. I don't know if you guys know. He looks amazing.
I'm not ashamed to say it. I was fascinated by it. And she said, you should take dance lessons. And I said, no, I don't want to. She goes, well, if you ever change your mind, you should. So something happened, in high school, I started doing theater a lot. And you know, the conversation turned again to, you know, I should take some tap lessons. I thought, all right, well, why not? So I went to Carolyn Bohati Dancers in Shields, Michigan, which is about
I went there.
That's impossible. Who are you?
Elena Lipscomb.
What's that?
Elena Lipscomb from Michigan.
What years were you there?
Well, no,
Not the
there's
same years.
their daughters all have, yeah.
Is it still there?
Yes. It's still there.
Unbelievable that you have anything to say about the matter.
Well said.
Then you were there. Well, so then you know very well what the situation. I grew up in Saginaw. I don't know where you're from.
That's
Saginaw.
Yeah.
Now let's stop this.
It's amazing.
Is it? Or is it really creepy? Okay, security.
So you took the same route I did. It's about like a 15-minute drive out to this place called Shields, Michigan, which is basically just, you know, Gratiot Road, I think. If I'm not mistaken. And is anyone from Shields here? No offense. But anyway, long story short, I did about 6 lessons, and we were kind of turning the corner into the spring gala, and I think it was Carolyn Bohati said, we're really excited that you're here. And by the way, all of the other students were 3rd grade girls. and me in 10th grade. And so there were a couple of strikes against me, one of which, my father was a lawyer, and so one of his partners came one day to pick up his daughter, and he saw me there, and he said, hey, Brian, what are you doing? Are you picking up Kate, my little sister? And I said, no. Are you picking up your sister Ann, my older sister? And I said, no. And he said, what are you doing here? I said, learning how to tap dance. And he just kind of looked at me like, I don't understand that.
Really couldn't comprehend.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay. So that wasn't the icing on the cake for me. What was the icing was when Carolyn Bohati said, we are so excited because you are going to be Uncle Sam, and you will be in the middle of the maypole, and all of the other students will dance around you in your big Uncle Sam hat. And I said, nope, I'm out of here. And I said, that's it. I didn't want to
Because
do
you
it.
hate America?
And I lick donuts. Zeitgeist.
We call it hashtag zeitgeist.
It hasn't, you know, brought me down like maybe some
Yeah.
others. My apology
Small
to
scale of celebrity.
Your apology to
to 46th Street. Hilarious. Okay, so wait, so you had 6 lessons and then places for something rotten? That was literally the transition?
No, I mean, the other highlights were doing summer stock at the Wagon Wheel.
Woo!
I believe it. Warsaw, Indiana. Did you work there?
I'm in the pit this summer.
Oh my.
Hey, this is your life in like a weird, like, busted way. Wow. Not having you bust a truck. Woo! Right? So always like the worst credits. Wait, so you were tapping in what show there?
42nd Street. Someone said you should be Billy Lawler, and I said okay. And so I got this crash course from this great choreographer whose name escapes me. His name is Bruce. He's from Evanston. Is he here, Bruce? And he was great, and I learned, you know, I had a basic understanding of it.
Billy Lawler is really hard.
It is hard, but you know, you can tailor it to
Okay.
kind of, you know, make it look like it's
Style.
happening. Yeah, a lot of hands, a lot of poses.
What about the G sharps?
Dance. I don't remember that. I think I probably could do it then.
Are those in the days when you're like, it's fine?
Yeah,
Now it's
it's
like
like-
middle C.
No, exactly. So, you know, along the way, there have been a couple other times. Like White Christmas, I had to do a little bit of tap dancing, Randy Skinner's choreography. Not much, but enough to make me, you know, kind of start thinking, God, can I do this? And, you know, what I've learned about great choreographers is that they're so good at, if they sense that someone can maybe do it, they will try their damnedest to see if they can, for the betterment of the show. And, you know, obviously if they have someone they're stuck with, they got to see what they can use. But I feel really lucky that people like Casey, people like Randy, like Bruce, like Carol Mahadi, we're willing to say, hey, this is how you do it.
Well, especially with the original choreography, because they can tailor it to what your
Exactly.
signature steps are. But you never went to an actual like dance call, did you, in your life?
Oh yeah.
But like dancers who sing, that kind of call?
I remember having to do a dance call for Cats. I remember having to do a dance call for
What? So we meeting with
Rum Tum Tugger at the Winter Garden. This was 1990 maybe, 91, right when I got here. I think Hunter Foster actually got it. And we were I remember seeing him there.
He did play the role.
Did he? Yeah, I think.
He did a tour with Jen. But was it, I thought in those days it was step forward to a double pirouette, step back.
You know, it may have been, which is why I didn't get it. Carousel, Lincoln Center was another big dance call because, Sir Kenneth McMillan's choreography was represented in that production. And this story I've told before. It's a dance story.
I don't know it. Let me hear it.
So this was an extraordinary show because of many reasons, but the choreography was pretty thrilling. June is Busting Out All Over was the big number of all the kids. In this version of it, the idea was that these kids are just hormonally charged beyond belief, and that June is Busting Out All Over means that everyone wants to have sex. And so it was just kind of a representation of these.
Why is every reinvention of every show we're going to bring out the sex? Isn't that always it? Like, we're going to reinvent
It's
it.
kind of what it is.
All right, go on.
That's what it is.
It's all good.
Does that upset you?
Wait, someone's phone ringing?
Daddy, the phone is here.
Wow, it's still going. Is that actually, is that old school? Is that someone's pager? All right, so go on. So you're about to have sex and
through dance, and there was a moment. I was in the back. I got to do a lot of it, but they're no dummies. They put me in the back for a couple of very pivotal moments. One of which was where there's a series of hornpipe moves where all the guys are dancing and all the girls are stopped watching the guys show off. And those kind of 3 hornpipe moves go into a double tour. And so
double tour is when you jump in the air, go boom, boom, boom.
Twice, yeah. And during rehearsals, they really wanted me to try to get it just so I could be in the mix. And I tried and I tried and I tried, and it was really, really hard. It was really disconcerting, and just like you're just running into, slamming into a brick wall over and over again. It was dispiriting. So they were okay once they exhausted every opportunity to see if I could, and then they realized I couldn't. They said, one's fine. No, yeah, I would just do one, which was kind of a pathetic little twirl. So that became part of the track for me. It was my last day. I was moving on from the show, and by now I'm doing it. So I've done it. I don't know how many times, 100 times maybe. And I'm leaving, and I say to Tay Diggs, who was in the company with me, who was a good friend. I looked at him and I said, "Hey Tay, I think I'm going to do 2 tonight. I'm going to go out and I'm going to try 2. And this is what he did. He took his arm and he went, with just eyes of concern and friendship and just consideration, he said, "Just do one really good one." And I was just like you are right now. Thanks a lot. But this is why. I didn't know, and he was actually tipping me off, or he was helping me. Rocker Veristique, who was the dance captain of the show, amazing dancer, and an illustrious, all these great credits to his name.
NYCB, like literally ballet company dancer. He's amazing.
But he's also got the devil in him, and they have this tradition of doing something to people on their last shows just to screw with them and have some fun. Well, his idea for me was that on this very intricate section of dance, that once I turned into the first movement was front, and then the second movement was to the side. Well, at that moment when I moved to the side, everyone stopped dancing and was literally crouching on the Vivian Beaumont stage. So for a good minute, like 30 seconds, I was doing this. I can remember the move. Here, I'll demonstrate it. It would start like this. Out, leap down. And now, by this time, no one's dancing. Turning the corner into this prep to go into the double tour. when I get to this point, boom, everyone is laughing like hyenas. And I froze, and I jumped up, and I'm sure I looked like a wooden puppet whose face was just like. I did one little pathetic twirl, and then off we went with the rest of the number. And my wife, my now wife Jennifer, who had just come into the show, she was my dance partner. So she was the first person that I had to dance with. At that I'd call it the polka. But it wasn't a polka. Anyway, so she, we get into our little polka maneuver and we start poking around, and I'm just whipping her around because it's like your fault that this happened. Totally unreasonable, but I was so upset.
It really is.
I was mad and embarrassed, and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. And so we just finished the number. And it remains one of the most horrifying experiences I've ever had on stage. Absolutely. One little side note is that afterwards, I think people could tell that maybe that this was not the thing to do, because I was down in the basement and I remember everyone coming down like, yeah, it was funny, and I said in the dressing room, I said, in about 5 minutes, I'm going to think this is really funny. But right now, don't look at me. I was so mad. It's okay.
First of all, he never gets mad. So already it's crazy.
The rage. It was rageful. It really was. I was so. It was like it's center.
And it's the worst step down.
The hornpipe. And myself.
I have 2 questions. Were you dating Jen at the time? Like, what was your relationship with her then?
No, I wasn't dating her. We were. She had just come into the show.
She was just a person that you blamed.
She was my dance partner. Regrettably, for her.
That's A. B. Rocker stole that bit from Danny.
Danny Herman.
Danny Herman, yes. How do
Yes.
you know that?
Because he told me that he did.
Danny Herman did that during Song and Dance.
That's
He
right.
and Scott Wise.
That's right.
Did pranks but with real dancers. They would do things like they would have a crazy intricate choreography section of like 8 people in Song and Dance, and 7 of them would meet in the morning and learn the entire choreography in reverse. So they would all go that way, and one group would be going.
That's exactly right.
Did you know how they got Danny back? Okay,
No.
It was amazing. So the very end of the show, it was Melissa Manchester on tour, and they would all sing like an unexpected song that only we are, and everyone was like hearing this amazing like full choir rendition. So Danny's like a dancer, and like basically like that's it. So it was like an unexpected song that only we are. Everyone stopped, and Danny's like hearing. Phase 2. So, it's all good. I had no idea that story, but I totally now know because of Rocker. Okay, that's amazing.
But I just want to give credit to Tay Diggs, because he definitely was like if he could have spoken with his eyes, he would have
That's his mom and dad's.
we got a bucket of clams each. You're like, hey, I think I'm gonna really go for 2, you know.
So when you finally did the tour, it was you knew that you were doing a solo at that
Yes,
point.
I had resolved that maybe he was right, and
So you-
one good one.
And was it a good one?
No. I mean, it was. I mean, I can talk about it for this stage. If anyone has the program, it's a great program. Like all these great photographs of the production. There's one like it's the middle one, the one you open up, and it's a big shot of all the guys doing barrel turns, right? And all of the guys are like almost a halfway of the mid leap, like just like almost full extension, this beautiful barrel turn. Well, if you look in the back, there's me, who's like landed. I landed about 5 minutes before any of the other guys, and it's captured in that photograph. Oh God! But you know, it made me a more confident dancer.
Because you felt like it was your dance.
I was dancing. I was dancing.
Well, it's so interesting because I saw Wild Party, I saw the new Wild Party, and my husband James had done Birds down in Texas, and during the big like dance number, James was like, oh my God, he stole my block, and he super squall did the signature walk behind the bar and drink. So my question, did you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There were a couple of moments where I joined in, but yeah, there were. Mark Dendy choreographed that production, and you know, I would have been game to figure it out, but I think I'd like to think it was more of a character thing than it was kind of him just wanting.
Tate was in that show also, maybe,
But he can
but
dance.
maybe he tipped off Mark Penny's when I
Yeah,
was in.
he had a little chat with
That's
him.
exactly right. Just going emergency style. Okay, I want to talk about something around for 2 more minutes. So that, if you guys haven't seen it, they have this crazy dialogue section where he and Christian like have like a verbal face-off, but everything they say is actually tapped. So how, like, was the dialogue written first and you added the tap? Like, how did that whole section
I
happen?
think the idea was always there, just full on. Wouldn't it be great if they just danced and spoke the words that they were dancing to in a tap off? That idea from when I got involved was always solid.
And have you done it from the very first time you did it?
Oh yeah, the workshop. I remember them teaching me in the workshop and just kind of saying, "Oh, this is you're going to do this," and kind of after a while I realized, "Oh, this is serious. This is like I have to dance by myself. I have to tap dance by myself." So yeah, they knew full well what they wanted to
Now,
do.
is it Folly style where there are people backstage tapping into your microphone and you're like
No.
in ballet shoes? Oh, so you're actually making the sounds yourself.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And have you ever like?
Oh yes.
Oh.
Well, finish that question.
Well, is it wrong word or wrong tap?
Definitely wrong tap. Not wrong word yet. But I do always have this moment of panic right before Christian is doing his thing. And it's very strange because it doesn't happen in any other time during a show that I've experienced. But I'm getting ready to do my first tap speaking thing. And I'm always just terrified that I'm not going to know what to say. Why? Because I'm so focused on being on the right foot to start. I mean, it's not a natural thing for me. It's not like falling out of bed for me. It's getting a lot easier now. I mean, I've done it now 110
But
times.
still, to this
But
day.
still, it's the marriage of the dance with what I have to say. I think, oh God, I hope I say the right things. Because it's just I'm so focused on the dancing.
And what is it like? Because his wife, when you say was in Carousel, she's actually an amazing dancer. She was the ballet soloist, and she was the understudy, right? For the
No, she understudied Julie Jordan.
I thought she also got to do the ballet. Remember, she was like, oh well, she told me she got cast because she did good Fuate.
Yes,
she everyone do.
Everyone had to. They were looking for serious dancers.
She was really. So, are you like mortified after when you have to dance in front of her? She was like, honey, good job.
No, she's great because when she saw the workshop, she's like, you just gotta relax your knees. You just gotta relax your knees a little bit. And of course I did. And then the next day, Casey Nicola said, hey, that was great. Your knees are really relaxed. I said, yeah. She was absolutely. I mean, technically, it's interesting how people can actually look at that. I'm fascinated by people who can teach people how to sing, people who can teach people how to dance, because they can see the mechanics and they can just say, "Oh, just put your hip this way," or like, I can't figure that out. It's
I
amazing.
remember that when I would take piano lessons, and I'd be like, how does he see my fingering? Like, it was always weird that he could see stuff happening. I totally can't do that either. I can be dishy, but I can't understand actually what you're doing. All right, so backtrack. So look, I want to say you have the same thing that happened years ago with now Hamilton. So let's talk about years ago when you did Next to Normal, and you were like, oh, I think it's to Broadway. Oh, wait, Shrek. So what was that whole experience?
Well, in a nutshell, Next to Normal was finishing its second stage. There was some interest in it having a regional life after that. I think La Jolla was interested and Washington was interested, but nothing was solid. And so there was a period of time there, I can't remember how long it was. It wasn't that long, but it was maybe a month or two after we finished where there wasn't anything definitive happening. And that's when the Shrek thing came in. And so I took the bird in the hand, knowing that, I was obviously very confident and thought that Next to Normal was an extraordinary thing. But so too was this opportunity to do this kind of unbelievable idea of playing Shrek.
Yeah.
And Shrek the musical was just almost too preposterous not to really think about. And so I did it. And I think the equation would have been different if there was a solid footing on where it was going, where Next to Normal was going next.
Yeah, it was just regional. They didn't say we're going regional Broadway. It's definite.
No, that was another thing. The reviews in the Times were,
Second stage.
for second stage production, weren't the ones that kind of gave it the kind of gold standard, and no one really knew that this was hell bent for Broadway. I mean, it was kind of audacious and amazing that David Stone did what he did by taking it and saying, you know what, we are not giving up on this show because we believe in it. And so I'm sure that there are other examples of that happening, but not many.
I can't think of anywhere shows actually run in New York, run in New York, and had all the top reviewers come, then workshopped, and then came back.
Go out of town to do work on it some more, and then come in. Yeah, it was an amazing thing, and thankfully, rightly so.
But wasn't it kind of more fun to do Shrek than to be depressed 8 times a week?
Well, yes and no. I mean, there's something extremely satisfying about being in a show where everything is working so incredibly well in terms of next to normal, and all the emotional aspects of it and the story of it, and really sinking into it. There's a pride of ownership in terms of what you can bring to it that is requiring a ton of commitment, just emotionally, and that was. It was hard to do, but it was also, I thought it was very special, and there was kind of a fragile kind of quality of having a beautiful, fragile thing that was there, that we'd all made. And so that was a great feeling of walking away from that every night saying, that's kind of an extraordinary thing.
When did you come home and Jen was like, lighten the fuck up?
Yeah. I'm pretty good at kind of walking away, after the show. But, I'd be lying if I didn't say that there was, there's residual kind of stuff that happens when you're doing a show of that nature. Michael Service was talking about this a lot when we were doing all the press for Tony's and stuff, and I could relate to what he was experiencing and what he still experiences in terms of playing a character that is really has a lot of things to wade through in a matter of a show.
And what about people coming up to you after Next to Normal and being like, oh my God, I had the same thing in my family?
Oh yeah, a lot of people. I'm sure my eyes were opened up to it in a way that was kind of alarming in terms of the amount of people that were dealing with this story and didn't have a forum for it publicly. I know that there are tons of organizations and tons of places that do shine the light on bipolar disease and what it can do and the effect that it can have on families and individuals. It was an educational process for me to a certain extent. So I do feel like that show did kind of open up the iris in a way in terms of who's looking at this and how the story is being told. And you know what? I kind of have. I think everyone in this room, you won't have to go too far away to find that story either in your family or in your community or. So I think that's a good thing, because now it's more conversation is helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing you were at least a part of that, but you didn't get to do it on Broadway. But it was delicious that you were doing another Broadway show and you got the delicious Tony nomination for it. Now, were you the new Kelly O'Hara? How many times have you been nominated?
Three times.
Oh, so you have 3 more to go.
Yeah.
That's annoying. What was your first nomination?
Sweet Smell of Success.
Yeah.
Oh, right. All right. Well, speaking of Lithgow, talk about what was it like when you were placed in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels?
Oh wow. Well, John was not in the show. I came in with Keith Carradine, so I didn't get to work with John again. But of course, I was there to kind of see him, finish his time there. John Lithgow is an extraordinary guy, and he became a really good friend. And my daughter was born when we were doing Sweet Smell, and he's a father, and I feel so grateful that I had him to say, like, well, what happens now, and what do you do now? And he was always great by telling me the most ambiguous answers to my questions. For example, whenever I would come to ask him for advice, his great line is, there's only one thing I can tell you, and that is, whatever you decide, you can be sure that it's the wrong choice. You've got that, he's got a big Cheshire grin, and he just kind of looks and laughs, and then he's like kind of like a beautiful troll who lives under the bridge, giving you riddles. And you're like, I don't know what that means. Thanks a lot, pal.
It's Cat in the Hat.
Yeah.
So you took over with Keith Carradine, and who else was it? Lucy Arnett?
Yeah, Lucy was in it. Richard Kind was in it at the time. But that was it's so weird you bring this up. This is such a bizarre story. But I went to the dentist today, and I was reminded of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels because there's a bit in that show when Freddie, the character I played, has to bite on a piece of beef jerky and basically does this. Norbert Leo Butz did this thing and just was writhing on the ground for a good minute and a half, like tackling this beef jerky, and it's a very funny physical thing.
It's so tight.
It's so tight and he can't get it, but he ends up on the floor like just flailing around. It's hilarious. So I did my best version of that. But what I was doing, I was holding on to the jerky, which was a leather strap, basically. I was holding on to it so tight with my teeth that I broke my tooth. And that today, when I went to the dentist, I was reminded of all of the problems that I've had because of that bit.
Was that 2-week run?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, so hold on, tell me, did they replace the tooth, or they're like, we got around to it one day?
It's too boring. I won't go into it. But basically, root canal and then another surgery, because of the crack.
Did Norbert pay for it? Stupid bit.
No, he didn't have that. He knew how to do it.
I was saying, why are you such a method actor? You had to convince so strongly. Why
I
did
just
you
didn't know. I was nervous. I was just like, don't let go of the jerky.
With the close-up. No, it's a Broadway show. I thought it was a camera right there. All right, you're an idiot. Speaking of cameras, talking about Smash for a second, we were talking the other time with Smash when you were like, I'm so glad I don't have to sing, right?
Yeah.
So talking about that when they were like, you don't have to sing, you're like, yeah.
It's great. You get weekends off. You can go see football games, and you can have.
That's a great part.
Yes, it is. It was so great. It was fun. I know. It's whatever.
That part's
They
horrible.
substitute whatever you want. Football game.
YouTube
Whatever.
Tony Award videos. Okay, so what was the transition when you were like, where's my song?
Well, at first I was so just happy, and happy wasn't the word. I was ecstatic. I got this big show. It was a television show, NBC. It was shooting in New York. All these incredible people, and I was the guy who was going to be the dad who didn't have to sing. I got it because I'm an actor. That was the lie that I was telling myself, and so that kind of started eroding away after like the 4th table read. So every episode, you get together at the production office and you read the episode that's going to shoot. And so, inevitably, in these table reads, they push a button and say, and this is when Kat sings this song, this is when Megan sings this song, and this is when Christian sings this song, and they play the song that they were going to use. And, about four episodes in, I was just kind of sitting there, just, reading my script and seeing how many salads I'd have to make in the episode. I did that a lot. But I would be sitting there thinking, just wanting to say, I can sing. But interesting story is that during the pilot, I remember talking to Michael Mayer and saying, "What's the deal with Frank? Is he part of this world? Is he gonna sing? Because I would love to. Obviously, doesn't. What's the trajectory for this guy?" And they said, "Well, at first they thought that maybe he was an actor who gave it up, who had a past, and met this lyricist in one of the shows that she had written, and they fell in love, got married, and but then they decided, not everybody should be in this world." And I think that it's a reasonable thing to say, when you're creating a cast of characters in this world. So I was representing kind of the outside guy saying, what the hell's going on in this Broadway world?
But it also would have made more sense because you were so negative about her doing it. If you identified more like, I was able to give it up, why wouldn't you give it up? You know what I mean? If you had been an actor that gave it up.
Is that how you saw it?
Well, weren't you like, oh, why are you doing this musical? You promised you blah blah blah.
I always felt that was an extension of the affair that she was having. I can't, to be totally honest with you, that part of it, I can't quite recall. There's a difference in my mind in terms of the character being upset that she's just going off to do another show, as opposed to falling in love with the actor that's in the show. Which, to me, in my mind, when I remember it, that was the main issue.
Subtext. That's what we call it. Okay, now did you get to sing in the big smash, blah blah blah?
Yeah, I did. The actor's fun. I sang a song.
Secondhand white baby grass.
No.
Let me be your. Oh, well, what'd you get to sing?
No, I did sing that song actually with Anna Gassar, and we did a concert together, and we sang that together. It was pretty funny.
Oh my god.
No, I sang a song called what is it called? The Right Regrets, which aired. Deborah and Christian's characters sang it about kind of their. It was a real kind of expose of how she felt about doing things that were harmful, but having the right regrets.
What was that night like? It was the day after the Tony Awards, right?
Yeah, that made it a little insane. I mean, Christian Borle was there, and he won the Tony, so my party wasn't as long as his was the night before. So he was, I couldn't believe he was there, and he was great. So yeah, it was a little kind of like a little fuzzy. In terms of just also because we've been doing all the stuff, all the Tony press, it really is kind of an intense time. It was extraordinarily exciting, but intense. At any rate, it was an unbelievable night, mostly because of the music. They had an incredible orchestra. They had about 30 singers, amazing singers backing it up, and it was really fun and very moving to see everybody, out of context, obviously, but just, seeing Catherine McPhee and Megan sing these songs that, I'm so proud to be in that show. And I would sit and watch just like everybody else, saying, I can't, that's me, I'm in there.
That's so sweet. And I was comparing, I forgot the next to normal to Shrek. So what was it like when you were like, I'm doing Hamilton as a hit? Well, I lived have to choose between two hit shows.
Yeah.
What was that like?
That
he was King George originally, Hamilton.
Yes.
That was a to have any association with Hamilton is, I will be so grateful for that. But it was very a difficult thing in the sense that I knew that Something Rotten, what made it difficult was the fact that Something Rotten was supposed to go out of town. And I wasn't going to go out of town because I had agreed to do Hamilton off Broadway. And I think everybody suspected that Hamilton would go to Broadway after that run, just didn't know when or how that would transpire. We weren't so sure about what was happening with Something Rotten. So when they moved Something Rotten to an immediate Broadway opening, then I had to really make a decision because I was kind of tested in a way of saying, how married are you to this extraordinary opportunity of leading this Broadway show, which now was going to be a Broadway show, and then do this extraordinary part at the public for however long, 4 months or whatever it was. And so I just had to choose, and it was really hard. And thankfully, Oscar Eustis and Jeffrey Seller and Lin-Manuel Miranda and Tommy Kail, the director of Hamilton, they weighed the scenario that I gave them and I said, this is what I'm choosing to do. I would love to be a part of this. If I can't be, I understand, we can cut ties and everyone will go on their way. And they gave me the chance to do it for the time that I got to do it, which I am forever grateful because I just to be on that page, that first page of what is truly an historic thing.
So you left, you gave notice to Hamilton before you even opened up Broadway. You said in the
Yes, before Hamilton started rehearsals,
wow.
I said, here's what's happening. This is the kink that's happened in the system here. I'm letting you know that this is what I want to do. I basically said, can I have my cake and eat it too for just a little bit of time? And they waited, and there was a couple of days where I thought, it's not going to work out, and then it did.
Now, when someone was going to go out of town, you were not going to do it. They were going to have someone else.
I felt strongly about not going out of town, mostly because I was committed to doing Hamilton. So I had that, that I wanted to do, and
you didn't know if you would take it to Broadway, or did they say, by the way, you will, no matter who you cast out of town?
No, that was never a guarantee. I mean, you hope that that's the case, obviously. So it was all these little things that kind of. It was very much like the Shrek and Next to Normal situation, where all of a sudden these two things just came butting up against each other.
I guess it's a luxury problem.
It is.
And what the hell was it like being in rehearsal for Hamilton and were you just literally mouth agape the entire time from the talent surrounding you?
Here's another medical story about my association with the show. No, it's about my first colonoscopy. So this is right after my first and only.
Well, I guess around 40 is supposed to start getting. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I had just done the
prep.
That is the worst. No, that is the worst. I had just done the Hamilton workshop, which was they staged the first act, and then the second act we read. And it was astounding. I was like, what is happening? This is an incredible show. So apparently, after my colonoscopy, I'm coming out of anesthesia, and all the nurses are saying, I'm so happy for you, and thank you for the tickets, and we can't wait to come. You're so generous. Thank you so much. We can't wait to see you. I had promised the whole nursing staff tickets to Hamilton. In my mind, I'm saying, you gotta see this show. It's about Alexander Hamilton, and they rap and they dance. And it's an amazing show. You gotta sit the public. And I don't have any memory of saying that, but I was under propofol. I was plugging the show.
Promise them
I was just saying, yeah, you got to get tickets, and I can help you get tickets, and it's free. You got to go because you have to see it now. You're never going to be able to see it when it's on Broadway. It's going to be an amazing hit.
It's so low energy. Wait, and then when you, what happened? Did they come see it?
No.
Oh!
No, I mean, they were all laughing. They probably didn't. They were probably thinking, yeah, we hear this all the time. Come see my show. Coming out of a drug haze.
And to the G. Okay, before we go to our final song, what do people, I know, he's totally vocally tired, but I'm forcing him to sing anyway. What moment should everybody watch out for in something rotten that you're like, my favorite moment is? Either yours or just watching a moment.
Oh, jeez. It's so hard. There's so many. My favorite, I think, I always get excited when we go into the, I don't want to spoil it, but there's in the second act, there's a production that my character is kind of steering the ship going into this musical the first musical. And there are so many moments in that when we're doing the play before the song, the rhythm of that and all these great lines where all of these shows are being referenced is pretty funny. And, but that's just the first thing that popped up in my brain. But I will say, there's always a very tenuous situation whenever Brooks Ashmanskas is on stage. There's a scene at the beginning when he comes in and is basically trying to shut down the theater, and it's the scene where we're all in the theater itself. And there are nights where he's a genius. He's a comedic genius, and you never know what he's going to do. And he can just go, he can zig where he usually zags, and it's ridiculously funny. And oftentimes, many heads on the stage go like this, or look away, or turn around, because it's impossible not to laugh.
Is it a line or is it a move?
He does this thing sometimes on this particular couple of lines where he changes his voice, like it's out of nowhere. He sounds like the guy from Silence of the Lambs. And it's so weird and funny, and it tickles him when he does it. And so when I start to see him get tickled, he can control it because he's saying the words, but it's not good. It's not professional. But it's that church laughter. It's that feeling of, oh, this is the best feeling in the world. Knowing you're not supposed to be laughing, but 1,600 people have paid like $800 to see a show and watch you giggle on stage. Not good. But I will also say, not that this is a justification, but it is part of the charm of the show because it's so raucous and it's so funny, and it does kind of like careen back and forth in terms of the comedy. And I think, I heard someone say, I thought this was an apt analogy, that they likened this show to like a 1960s variety show.
Yeah.
Where, the characters are really colorful, and, people are just, always laughing. It's just a laugh a minute. So
What's it like backstage at Brooks? He always made me die backstage.
he's always funny. Always funny. Always.
We had this during the Ritz. There was like this big chase scene, but it never really got any laughs. It was really arduous. And I remember Rosie Fresh was in crazy heels, and she'd be running around, and she'd run past Brooks backstage and go, "We're extending!" or she'd be out of her, she'd be running by him, and he would go, "I don't believe you." Hilarious. It was hilariously funny. Okay, so we're going to attempt the song. We have not rehearsed, and Brian is vocally damaged, but all the power to you. Yeah.
Oh, water. Thank you.
Yeah, that was good, right? Nice.
Thank you.
Sure.
Welcome.
The only kind of is for you to point for the last one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to add a little spice to this.
You gonna dance?
No. I've done enough dancing. Do you know this song?
Ish.
Okay. So Dan Lipton. I've done this with Dan before, and one of the ways we do it this is a rehearsal. So just you can be a part of this rehearsal. We usually do it kind of straighter than the way it usually goes. So, in other words, it would be like this. Well, it's I can't articulate it because we have Yeah, we'll just do it. We'll just do it. It's fine. Yeah, very big. Very big. This is a song called Vienna by Billy Joel. Slow down, you crazy child. You're so ambitious for a juvenile, but then if you're so smart, tell me why are you still so afraid? Where's the fire? What's the hurry about? You better cool it off before you burn it out. You've got so much to do and only so many hours in a day. 'Cause you know that when the truth is told that you can get what you want or you can just get old, you're gonna kick off before you even get halfway through. Ooh, when will you realize Vienna waits for you? Slow down, you're doing fine. You can't be everything you want to be before your time. Although it's so romantic on the borderline tonight. It's too bad, but it's the life you lead. You're so ahead of yourself that you forgot what you need. Though you can see when you're wrong, you know you can't always see when you're right. You're right. You got your passion, you got your pride, but don't you know that only fools are satisfied? Dream on, but don't imagine they'll all come true. Ooh, when will you realize Vienna waits for you? Slow down, you crazy child. Take the phone off the hook and disappear for a while. It's alright, you can't afford to lose a day or two. Ooh, why don't you realize Vienna waits for you? When will you realize Vienna waits for you?
Your show at 54 Below. Was that recorded?
No, it wasn't
It
recorded.
was so good. It was all my favorite
Thank
music.
you. Thank you.
Are you gonna bring it back?
I've done it a couple times. I'm sure I'll do it sometime
Why
in the
did you
future.
record that shit?
I talked about it, but I haven't, and I think I probably will at some point.
Oh, Haven sang backup.
Ah, yeah.
We love
Haven
you.
Burton, the best voice.
Oh my
in
God, she
America.
did Disaster, of course. She was
Oh
amazing.
yeah, I know. I saw.
You
Great
love
show, Disaster.
Oh, thank you.
Incredible show.
Hilarious. I knew you.
I saw the young guy who plays.
Ben and Lisa?
Yeah.
The little kid in the
Yeah.
show?
Yeah.
Like the little boy. But
Yes.
now he's like 16.
Yeah, but he came to something wrong, and he was at the stage door. And I recognized his face and said, "Do I know you?" And he goes, "I don't know." And I said, "Are you an actor?" And he said, "Well, yeah." And I said, "What?" I knew that face because he was
performance?
Well, yeah, that he was incredible.
His name is Jonah Verdon, Periscope.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
isn't he great?
Fantastic. And he said, "Well, I did Disaster." That's it. You're
Aww. I read your text. He wrote some such nice text. Read your text to the whole cast. They're like, find messaging like this.
Oh,
so
great.
you still got it. All right, so go see Something Rotten, and do not see Hamilton. Not cool. Probably can't anyway. And the CD Something Rotten is out, right?
It is, yeah.
So
It's out now.
you're how many cast albums now have you made?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Carousel.
More than a lot. A lot.
Wild part. Let's just say a lot. All right, everyone help thank Dancer.